Welcome back, everybody, to Deadlock Night Shift. It's shift number 3. We're here in North America. I'm Jake. I'm joined, of course, by your lovely casters, Uber and DDK. But of course, none of us would be here without the lovely sponsor who's come to this show to help us in our time of need. It's Intel coming back in to support the night shift as well. So hats off, much appreciation, of course, to Intel and for them promoting here this Intel Gamer Days.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to have them here. I guess we can say back with air quotes. And obviously, Intel Gamer Day is coming up. So August 25 through September 7, you get yourself a copy of Battlefield 6 and more, mind you, with purchase qualifying Intel products during that period of time. So mark your calendars. We are currently in the Intel Gamer Days, folks. What a time to be alive. September 7th.
I mean, you got to get BF6. Definitely a hot one to hop on to get some of that casual fragging and gaming action on. But speaking of supporting the show, it's not just Intel supporting the show. This is also very much a community event. We wouldn't be here without all of you watching, supporting. We've got people on our YouTube subscriptions. We're getting our Twitch partnership set up very, very soon. And we've also, of course, got Patreon. And so for our YouTube members, for our Patreon subscribers here at that $5 tier, we're also running a special post show, the Graveyard Shift. We already ran a few of them after the past shows. And if you hop on and join us for that, we're going to invite community members in to kind of get a behind the scenes look, a deep dive, an interview to learn about what are they thinking about the scene, what are they thinking about the game, the top heroes. And there's a lot to discuss right now, of course, with this being kind of the hottest patch week in Deadlock, I dare say, we've ever had.
I mean, we are harassing players constantly for their insights, right? I think like every time when I go, like, tell us about this, like last week it was Mina, right? And Billy to some degree. So it's worth hanging out, and you can ask your own questions too. We actually open up the mics for you to be a part of the conversation, and it's much more low-key. This is already a low-key show. I would like to think we're pretty like relaxed, we're pretty cash. It's even more cash, so it's worth checking out. Get on there, jump in the Patreon, $5 tier and up, get you in there, and of course we'll give you guys a shout out as well. And we've got a special Patreon only channel where Jason Kaplan gets to try and spread his very strange ideologies, so just be warned. It's interesting but also kind of disconcerting.
Not a cult, just a friendly, supportive Patreon.
No, we're not a cult, we're a movement. You know what I mean? We're a collective.
I will not have you slandering Jason. He came up with that Pictionary content thing, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I thought we sentenced him to that because he was making too many phallic jokes on broadcast. I thought that he was like, that was his purgatory. No?
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. Time served. You know, now he's out in his own cognizance.
Love that.
He's doing community service for the people out of the kindness of his own heart. But speaking of a team without kind hearts, frankly, a team that's been merciless, it's been brutal for a long time here in North America. Hydra Nation are waiting in this money match. They watched the challenger match. They're ready for their opponent. And this is the team to beat in North America. They've been the team to beat in North America for quite a long time, and they have stayed on top, not just through individual skill, but through hard work, through constant grinding. And of course, the cannibalism of all the top players to join their roster.
It's scary. By the way, just so you guys know, last week, AVG, he played Billy by a chatter's request for money. So if you want to see AVG play something of your desire for money, it seems like he will do it. So we haven't had Paige yet. We haven't had Paige or Drifter. Obviously, Drifter is now available. We've only had the one match since, but maybe he's up for it.
I would point out that I think Billy was like winless last week. I actually think Lil Troops picked it into Hydra Nation and then just kind of beat down by like the very classic like Yamato 7 Paradox comp to give AVG your money either way. And maybe he'll play something. I don't know if Paige is it, but yeah, that should tell you everything you needed to know. We are every week, Jake, I think you probably agree, we're like in the sauce. We're like in the primordial goo of experimental Deadlock. We're just kind of throwing things out, seeing what sticks, what's the viscosity of this particular emulsion looking like. And that's why we get to see a lot of these new heroes mixed in. So fingers crossed for Paige. Obviously, she's a ton of fun to see out there. And if you've experimented, she's obviously really cool thematically. Hydra Nation, kind of nice to know that they can, take a flyer on a different kind of hero and still find success, except that not happened last week. It was a best of 3 that went all the way to 3 maps.
And, I don't think that's what Hydra Nation want. They want a dominant win here, I'd say.
And I think they know also kind of some of the things to do to achieve that. I think the only dangerous thing we talked about earlier for them really was Matt on Holiday. So I would not be surprised if we see Hydra Nation ban that out the gate. As far as Little Troops ban, I mean, you can't really ban away favorites from Hydra Nation because you'd have to ban half of the roster. So
I've done it. They have
the
done it,
Yamato,
though.
yeah, it's key.
We
That's certainly
obviously constantly picking that one last week, like in every map. It's just a real cornerstone, I think, to a lot of their comps, and just represents like an ever-present threat. Like if you let the Yamato go, like work side lane, work jungle, they're basically 1v2, 1v3 pretty comfortably for much of the map. There is the strat, by the way, of like once you get Vindicta out of the way, like you try and snap up one of the initiators, ban the other. But what we saw in that previous game was that Sire was playing Doorman kind of like a Holiday with the same build that Sire uses on Holiday, right? Just to try and guarantee those luggage cart connections and lock people out of the game. Now, it feels like Hotel Guest is like a delayed sort of Spirit Lasso in the sense that, everyone can congregate and can set up to sort of pick that player off as they come out often after having taken some damage. So Doorman might, with a little bit of help, but of greasing the wheels in terms of itemization, be another potential contested initiator through some of these drafts.
And Hydra Nation, they choose to prio taking the Vindicta off the field. Maybe it's a little bit more of that not just a dominant open initiator that can set things up, but also this incredibly hard to deal with laner. So if you want to play some aggressive lanes, as Hydra Nation are known to play, and get an early advantage, Vindicta can really slow that down. It's very hard to like shove her out of lane and nuke her and spam her back. Hydra Nation just go with the very conventional Warden opener, not really worried about the Doorman, so it would seem.
You're under my protection now.
Well, that's definitely a great pick because it's high priority, I think, for Little Troops. And Hydra Nation kind of have to pick Paradox, but you don't want to pick it second. You're kind of going to pick it third. I don't think Little Troops are going to get rid of it, but they would ban it. So I think that's kind of where Hydra Nation are in terms of that opening three. Little Troops, though, I feel like there's a lot of different directions they could go. They've got already the most important one, which is Holiday.
I think I'll like the surface.
Viscous is a great wombo with that, right? Like you set him up with the lasso, knock him down with Viscous with monster nuke damage with this melee build. And I see the vision, and the fighting in like a low numbers or scrappy team fights really sick for Viscous and Holiday.
So a couple of the conspicuously absent picks here. Hydra Nation are pretty like prolific Geist team, but she seems to have fallen off. Mo and Krill might be an option later on in the draft. Geist getting taken by Little Troops, so that's interesting to see there. I think it was banned in that previous game as well. Obviously, like the Paradox, something you need to round this out. I think Little Troops will be quite happy to take that away in the second wave of ban, like you guys pointed out, if that one is let through. Abrams is still on the table though, looking ahead a little bit into the second phase of draft. It's like always a pick they're looking for. 7 is also still there, so it's usually 7 already taken here. So they do open themselves up to the potential of being denied the Paradox entirely.
Yeah, they're willing
see if the value's
to
there.
risk it.
I don't want to ban from Little Troops here. I mean, you've taken John John's Warden away. Do you care about Shiv? Like, how much is that a problem for you? If you're not sort of looking to pick that up yourself. The Kelvin is pretty messed up. I think that Shiv Kelvin lane, you want to ban a component of it. I think I take that high sustain element away from it and just make that Shiv a little less unkillable. Seems fair.
Might be a lash ban from Little Troops right now. I think with the Kelvin ban, it feels really scary to let a lash through. Like if you're lash ulting into Warden and 7 ulting, like the counter initiating, the team fighting looks super scary. And instead they're gonna, we talked about maybe they needed to ban the Paradox, but now I feel like this opens Hydra Nation to be in a great spot. If they got Paradox, they're totally happy with that. But I think Lash here also looks great.
Is it an analog though for that same gameplay that you want out of your Paradox? Like you can set up picks, of course, with the Lash, but it's less direct, and you generally have to do it. Oh, okay, they're going to go for it anyway here. So,
I mean, I think you're right. It's a different value, right? Like rather than the individual pick-off value that Paradox gives you, this is the like we will win the team fights value that Hydra Nation is building toward right now. Like they're so heavy on team fighting. I mean, Mirage also sort of a team fighter in the sense of splitting the map up, creating a player advantage, and then coming to the team fight. I think for now, Lil Troops looks much better in the low numbers scraps. But when it comes to a major team fight initiation, like if the game is pretty even and things come down to big fights on walkers and on mid boss, on key positions, key camps, key buffs, I'm really favoring the Hydra Nation draft right now.
Lil Troops have sorry, Dan.
Oh, I was just gonna say there could be a Mo in store for Hydra Nation, because they usually go for the Abrams, but in fact, actually Mo gets taken away as well.
This group is so tanky.
This coming in from Hydra Nation now. They could still add some extra damage if they wanted.
They need damage. I mean, that's the issue. I mean, Lil Troops are very, very durable. The problem is though, if you lose those Guardians first, all these heroes are great, but some of them are going to be like solo roaming their own jungle, trying to get fed. And they're going to be jumped on. The Billy's getting picked up here, bro. Okay, I'm here for it. Lil Troops are taking all the frontline options away in Hydra Nation and say, okay, well, we have this left over. Let's see if we can actually win a game with this pick.
I think Billy's actually pretty good at dealing with these heavy enemy front lines, you know, with that melee passive, be able to proc that on the enemies and like really mitigate some of their damage, pull them together for the follow-up. And instead they're going to grab Doorman as a last pick here, getting some of that catch, getting some of that utility. I think the Lil Troops though, I mean, what hero was going to like ultra solo carry the game? Infernus is probably the most straightforward, but I think you have to go something like more crazy here. I don't know. Maybe Infernus is the best.
I think it's too disruptible. Yeah, I think like Infernus is kind of scary when you have like a lot of CC. Like,
okay, I think it's Gun Ivy actually.
Gun Ivy? That's
I think so, because who is carrying this game for Lil Troops?
Yeah.
I mean, they really either they're all in on an early game blowout, which against Hydra Nation, I don't like your chances on that. I feel like Hydra Nation can take that defensive posture and stall the game out into a point where eventually you're gonna have problems. Gun Ivy is really good, and it plays a much faster tempo, I would say, than some of the other carries. But I mean, Lil Troops definitely are gambling on an early game advantage right now.
What is this Doorman Mirage combo? That is very filthy. I don't know. Like, I wonder if they do get sort of combined, but like the fact that like Mirage can always find a way in, like if like a random door gets set up, we saw it being teased by Sire in the previous game, like setting a door up above the other laners and like giving the option to sort of drop down. Yeah, gun carry is the Ivy. Last time we saw Holiday built as a gun carry, the player was cheating. So, you know, not really a thing that we see often at all. It is such a chonky comp here from Lil Troops, but
can you set up death slams through the door? Like if someone if there's like a door opened in a weird spot and you like have the lash death slamming behind it.
Literally,
like,
probably like... nobody knows, Dan. Nobody knows yet.
You get free max damage ground slams as well, coming in from like height as well. Put a door up
you could
high.
Like door them out of the skybox. I think there's also such like for something like Warden, if you like door him into the back line, he like jumps on your back line with an ulti already going, or I know carting, you can cart the Warden in while he's casting his ulti, so you can like fire. Dive him like super deep into
while he's channeling as well, like
yeah, exactly.
It's like a version of the like Majestic Leap. They used to pick up Majestic Leap, like
Doorman's Majestic Leap.
So lit. I mean, I'm pretty hyped about this Hydra Nation comp. Obviously, like they might look like they lack durability in some senses, but they're gonna hit like absolute Mac trucks. They've got a very, very good disruption here. And obviously, like constant split pushing pressure, like the Mirage and the 7 can work those, you know, like lanes after they've been won with like the Lash, you know, Billy rotating through. Obviously, Billy does get unstoppable at some point with that chain gang. It's just really potent. And just the fact that, God, when he's like using that smashed active, bro is really hard to kill, never runs out of ammunition. It's just a real nuisance, and obviously is really benefiting from a lot of those items that want you to be up close, right? Like close quarters derivatives and stuff like that. So pretty scary.
Still true liners, like the Ivy finish is really interesting.
I kind of like that it didn't go Infernus. I just don't feel this is just a really impossible game for Infernus with like so much stuff just going to be like jumping on you, popping you in the team fight. Ivy has stone form, so she can actually maybe dodge some of these, like the Billy pull with the ultimate, maybe the Lash ulti, you know, can maybe play her way out of some of these scenarios where an Infernus would just be cut to pieces. I feel like for Lil Troops with the comp they had in the first fight, like you can't try to go normal with the first 5 heroes you have. You got to kind of double down on a snowballing early game, getting active maybe with Ivy's global presence off the laning phase. And I think Geist also could potentially become like that gun semi-carry in the late game if you build that direction, but definitely requires a bit more of a snowball. She's not necessarily the most efficient farmer compared to someone like a 7 at least.
Yeah, I think like...
I was just gonna say the amount of lockdown is kind of crazy. Like from Hydra Nation, you're gonna get chain stunned forever, basically.
Yeah, I think like your gun carry having global presence is pretty nice. It's obviously what Mirage to some degree is going to be able to offer as well. And Ivy like with a stun or a silence rather appended to it as well, it is pretty handy. But yeah, in terms of like farming efficiency, Lil Troops are not it doesn't feel like they're going to be able to clear those camps necessarily all that easily. And obviously, that is the name of the game, especially if you do get map control and you want to go into, Hydra Nation side of the map. You want to be able to get in and get out pretty comfortably while sort of clearing through those as rapidly as possible. And there's also misspoke earlier. John's obviously not in this game. We are going to talk to him later, of course, on the graveyard shift, but I mentioned the Warden being taken away from him. He's not on this Lil Troops team. Bro was felled at the first hurdle, sadly. We got Billy and Doorman in the same game, though. That to me is exciting. And I'm curious because I think what we saw from the Doorman in the previous game was oppressive laning and promise of potential like later on in setting up those big plays, but I never feel like it really came together. Hydra Nation, though, the kind of team that can get that early lead and maybe go a bit further than Sire was able to, Jake.
Yeah, we'll have to see if this is a better weekend for Lil Troops, better midweek shift, of course, for the Troops if they're able to take on Hydra Nation. I think this game 1 draft looks very solid, very comfortable and classic for Hydra Nation. No shenanigans in this opening map here of the money match presented by Intel. This is Deadlock Night Shift. Take it away, boys.
Let's get into the cursed apple here. It's going to be Hydra Nation Amber side up against Lil Troops Sapphire side. Quick lane assignment recap for you. We have the Mirage Lash in mid instead. So Doorman's actually gone to the left side of the map with the Warden. And on this right side, Dan, we have Seven and Billy, piloted by none other than Hydration.
Interesting, very interesting indeed. It's gonna be really fun to see how this actually pans out, because last time it was AVG that was playing Billy, and AVG was like, this guy is just so hard to play, and that seemed to be the consensus. Although I think we spoke to Zergy in the graveyard shift. He's like, you can't trust North America. They think this thing is garbage, and it's not. So so yeah, it's super interesting to see how people work out this game week to week. But yeah, Doorman. I feel like we got to watch some Doorman. We got to see how that laning goes. Doorman seems like a really good laner.
Call Bell just seems like really annoying, oppressive poke, and they're combining that with Alchemical Flask on the right side, so I think that's an absolute nightmare. Fortunately, you do have that Spirit Drain, of course, for the Geist for some more sustain on that side of the map here, but I just want to put your attention to the Hellfire Stride, who's on the Abrams up on the left side, getting pummeled down pretty ferociously. And first point's already getting teched into blasted for the Billy. But yeah, here's Stride's situation now. They are pushing up, in fairness. And of course, AVG on your screen, for whatever reason, has opted to sort of make a name change here. Looking to play safe here. Looks like there was an early engagement that he lost out in pretty bad. Does have some sustain item-wise, but Floss is looking hale and hardy.
Yeah, Hydration is no joke in these early laning phases. Here's some attempt at some early damage, harass. It's a low main.
Value, right? Life drain someone who gets a little bit too close here. I like the pressure coming from Lil Troops. And look at where the waves are on every single lane for Lil Troops. Cool, they're a little bit dangerous, but they are taking liberties here with some of these camps. And they're able to get away with it too. Big pressure across the map, at least in terms of lane here for Lil Troops.
Yeah, that's probably only like 150 souls of you're taking away, but every little bit really helps. So especially at this level. And you also always, when you're doing something like this, you're always forcing your opponent to respond. And so there might be a play to be had in counter of their response. But now the pressure's going the other way here. Doorman able to get a lot of damage there, low main, with that very annoying bell.
I think the base damage on Corbell might be a little on the higher side. I mean, you don't see too many heroes, Dan, rushing extra charge straight away like this. So clearly it's like a huge component of like pressuring this lane. And again, remember, last hits aren't important for soul gain. It is those the shots on the soul orbs themselves. So the more often you can do this, that's cheeky. A random card here catching on the flaws. The more often you can do this, the more effective you're going to be. We're checking in with Poshy Pop, though, who's slated, at least, Dan, to be the gun carry here on this Lil Troop side.
Yeah, totally. Totally fits. We'll see how good the Gun Ivy is going to be looking in this game. It's a very interesting game from the composition-wise for both teams. We can probably assume that the Doorman lane on the left here is going to probably win out for Hydra Nation. That pressure seems extremely difficult to deal with. And so they're just going to have to lose well on that left side as best as they can, and hope that one of their teammates or the couplings of their teammates on the mid or right lane could instead win their lanes respectively, so that they can create some breathing room, maybe get some rotations in across. But we'll see if they can keep that left side tower up alive. Poshy Pop dishing out the damage. Then we got to look in here on the right side lane, Mitch, with that 7.
Yeah, and again, that's something we expect to see Leffa be highly impactful on towards later in the game. But this is about going the way we expected it to, right? A lot of poke damage here. Nice little soldier charge, though. Low main just trying to put some damage in. The Stride stepped up and tried to create a bit of breathing room, but Floss went pretty low in that exchange as well. Matt's in trouble. Lord finally opens up the account for Hydra Nation through the middle part of the map, and it looks like it's about to get worse as Rokane hits a nice little tornado. G-Freak, as healthy as they are, won't be allowed to escape. Rokane does not miss, and that is a comfortable straight up 2-for-0 trade in mid. Hydra Nation are beat up a little bit there. Don't have time to deny themselves into the tower. I think with how close Matt is, that's still a resounding victory.
Yeah, and Matt really is such a key. Even if they end up losing most of these lanes, Lil Troops, we've seen that Matt can still turn around the early to mid game with the ganks as they come in with the barrels and so on. But we're about 3 minutes away for those Sinner sacrifices to spawn, so still everyone's staying in their lanes. But with that said, okay, Poshy Pop jumping across with the bomb here for this bridge buff. Gonna get on top of that. The gun buff. Oh, he gets scrolling away. Oh, he gets stolen, I think, and that is not what Poshy Pop wanted.
No, not ideal. They do get low main for their troubles here, but of course the gun buff would really take Poshy Pop into a very oppressive factor on the map. Not to be. Until that mid lane pressure is going to remain in place. With low main having gone down, it's an opportunity for Lil Troops on that far left side over on York here to try and shove up a little bit more. They've done so. Low main's back in the game, whichever way you slice it. Matt here already with a cold front, so great chase potential. Obviously, just further strengthening the pick potential Holiday has.
Yeah, overall, it feels like Lil Troops are doing pretty well, even though, some of these lanes seem pretty difficult to deal with. But there's that Billy for a moment that is being played by Hydration. It's going to be so interesting to see how Hydration plays it. He's so good at playing basically anything.
Especially like the more brawler style heroes, right? It's always something I'm going to be looking for. Matt here doesn't really fancy it. Healing right required for that extra sustain in lane, and even Cube being used on G-Freak. So that should tell you everything you need to know about dealing with the Lash Mirage look here. Rokane very fed at the moment. Lomain caught out yet again, though. Looks like he attempted a dive, and Rokane, at least in mid, is able to make good on it. Stride got picked off. That is dirty stuff from Lomain. We'll be able to walk away from this explosion without looking back and leave AVG to take this Guardian down. It's a disaster. Floss trying to even up the ledger here with a life drain, but the gun damage coming in from the Warden is not something to sneer at.
Yeah, and again, for those of you that might be newer to Deadlock, the movement tech in this game, the skill expression on it is pretty insane. Like you see with Low Main there, able to be really effective, using the movement to cut off line of sight, place that belt. Really cool stuff to see. Okay, now Hydra Nation looking like they may be the ones to get this mid tower. There we go. Pretty fast. 7-minute tower. Again, the Sinner sacrifices up in a minute. So that getting that extra bit of map control is going to be pretty helpful. We'll see how they end up deciding to use it and which lanes they're going to pressure next.
I don't hate the camp clear rate for Ivy either. Kutsi Bomb, even if not going for a spirit build, is really quite helpful to try and get through those nice and quickly here. Obviously, Quicksilver reload a classic on Lord and M's Lash, which is definitely something we've seen terrorize a number of teams in the past, and one of the more recent additions to this Hydra Nation. He has slotted in very well after a brief stint on them once in the past. So just the rotations here. Hydration's headed over towards this left side of the map now, so we have a bit of a the Warden and the Doorman now operating on this right side of the map, so there's some reshuffling here for Hydra Nation.
And again, that pressure coming in. Sinner sacrifice coming up in 10 seconds. Looking to get that control. The lasso coming on through, though. Plucking him through the doorway. Beautiful stuff there. And that is a nice pickup. But it is a 1-for-1 after all is said and done. And there's more assistance coming in from the Hydra Nation side across. Lash making his way on through. Lord and M there. Trying to see if he can get some pressure on. See, the Sinner sacrifices are now up.
Rokane's taking free camps. Has the ability to travel into this fight. Should be required. I think Lord and M's realized it's a little unfavored, as it's 2 versus 3. But yeah, the door works both ways. And if you give Holiday a portal to lasso you through it, you had best be ready for the consequences of that. So that here, nice play made. Of course, Sinners are up and definitely need to be prioritized. But there's some concern, I think, here about a lurking Doorman in this area, as Low Main is going to be disrupted as they try and work on this Sinners. Will door themselves straight on out after getting some free boons.
Yeah, nice steal. Very nice steal, just taking that Sinner sacrifice away from the enemy team. And now it's the pressure on the right side. Guardian here, and there's not too much of a response coming in from Lil Troops. me giving that one up. They do have a fight on the left side, but I'm not sure how well this one is going. Seismic Slam used on escape here, so that's definitely not a good look. 6k deficit overall for Lil Troops, so not too far behind, but it's certainly not that close right now. Hydra Nation with all the map control, all the edges at the moment.
All the Guardians. Sure as hell doesn't help. And I mean, I just like watch the minimap here over the next couple of minutes, right? We're heading into the 10-minute mark pretty soon, and it's going to give you even more reason to fight over some of these neutral camps. So Lil Troops trying to clear their side of the map first before they try and get lanes pushed back out. They're not too far behind, but again, soul allocation is of concern. AVG and Rokane are looking pretty good. Leffer is also kept up. Lemaine is really showing us how much, of a utility focus the Doorman pick tends to have. Buffs are coming up in 15 seconds, Dan. I think we're going to have eyes, for those left and right sides of mid lane here.
Yeah, we have a congregation from Little Troops looking for the left side buff, getting the control here early on, and it's going to be Hydra Nation attacking into them if they decide to go for it. See a doorway getting popped up there, but it does look like Little Troops are looking good to defend this high ground for now. And
also the urn
they will.
The urn and buffs at the same time is always a little bit chaotic, right? Teams sort of trying to convert those as well as they can. Leffer connected with here. Urn taken up by Posse Pop. So this is Little Troops here issuing the challenge. And what is one of them doing? No, it's in! He's so deep! Okay, able to get out here, but it looks like maybe a mild disconnect on what the play was supposed to be for Hydra Nation here. They're allowing this urn to be taken up and are really only considering fighting later on. G-Freak is also not in position. I think a pretty important part of the team fight for Little Troops, of course, but they have a lot of durability and good lockdown here in the form of the combo for Rhino, for example. But that urn is heading over to the right side of the map pretty quick, Dan.
Yeah, the map control of that right side lane is not there for Little Troops, though. So actually getting the deposit down is not going to be an easy task. And speaking of which, right now, G-Freak on the Viscous is getting 1v1s. And there is a Warden nearby as well to also make his life hell. And there it is, Billy on the Hydration, or Hydration on the Billy, whichever way you like, is going to be chasing it down. And that's going to force the Viscous away. And there's just no chance now that this urn can be taken. But in the meantime, we had a play for Little Troops on the left side, but they can get flanked now.
Yeah, this is a problem. And Hydra Nation, it's not unreasonable to trade a Guardian for the urn turn-in, right? They're not even doing that. Like, they are so adamant about winning this game out. Airdrop gets used there defensively. That's Little Troops pulling the plug on whatever they were trying to make happen on this left side of the map. So all of a sudden, it starts to become a question of this Warden pressure. Someone got thrown in the Baroness Hotel here. Stride is going to be able to walk out and be just fine, but their opportunity to create that opening has gone begging. Lomain was able to get back to safety after having used that ultimate. Now we're still talking about We're still thinking about that turn in as Little Troops. G-Freak clutching it close to his chest. He'll back away to his side of the map. But Dan, this is simply allowing Hydra Nation to do just this. Go aggressive. Chain Gang combined with Last Stand. Binding Word also locking the fight down. There is no way Rhino's getting out of here unscathed. And now we're knocking on the door of some free walker damage too.
Yeah, just that oppressive presence from just two players on the right side, just constantly preventing that urn from ever being a consideration for Little Troops. And in the meantime, Matt's going to try to do what he can with the barrels, get some damage onto Lord NM, but I don't think he's going to be able to finish anything anytime soon. So once again, the urn still in play. We're going to have a new urn soon. It's 2.5 minutes away. Yep. And it's going to be a fight that gets forced, it seems, because they're going to look to go for it.
I think also like you could almost trade like half a walker, if not more, for this. Notice the left side lane assignment. No global presence between the Lash and the 7 that are pushing up for Hydra Nation, but left is continuing to get more fed. Hydra Nation might just let this one go. Disrupted a little bit, of course, with that door. We've seen that used on a number of occasions. Of course, Solo can't be picked up for a time. That leaves it open for a bit of an old-fashioned throwdown. Straight to the high ground. Looks like Rokane was trying to turn those 12k souls into some big damage. Nice shoulder charge there in Hydration, but Stride losing out the extended engagement. Rokane eventually does fall. That's the cost, though, of that combo ability. And there's an urn pick up here for Hydra Nation. It's AVG jockeying back, but Hydration was a little bit low and caught out in the open. Amidst all of this, though, Dan, it's a Walker pickup on the left side for Hydra Nation and a Leffer that continues to get more and more rotund with this soul total.
And AVG's found himself onto that urn as well. Doesn't look like it's going to ever be turned in, but that's fine as far as Hydra Nation are concerned. Going back in for the fight here.
Bye.
Looking to jockey for position is Little Troops, but they're just finding themselves lacking in these team fights. They just don't have the positioning.
That door there basically makes the urn turn in impossible. It is too easy to interrupt the urn carrier as they try and turn in. Unless you're the team with the door, in which case, well, have yourself a free soul urn. 82 plays 69k in terms of souls, and finally it seems Lord and M's ready to throw down with Matt and wins it out comfortably with a bit of a flog to secure that elimination. Now Guardians are starting to fall, but Hydra Nation have, traded them for an urn and a walker and a bit more pressure now on this right side jungle for Lil Troops. G-Freak's in trouble. Has to be a cube now. No, his last stand is in play for AVG, looking devastating. And G-Freak burns to a crisp as soon as he gets out of that gelatinous haven.
Wow, it's like it's almost a 15-minute mark and you still can't get that last Guardian down. You think you're like deep enough to maybe get a chance, and you get totally stuffed. And AVG, he's looking real strong. 17k on this ward, and that's pretty beefy at this point in the game. And one of them might be able to assist. Is he going to try to assist this? Well, it looks like it's going to be a fight as well, and gets caught through the doorway, and straight into the hotel, denied.
Well, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Stride unable to chase down the Doorman. Would have been the easiest target on the side of Hydra Nation in terms of that soul total, but it's not to be. Still, Rhino looking pretty scary. It's a combo on Rokane, who doesn't have much to say about it. Crucially, the global presence of the Mirage taken out of the game for the time being, but that is a very nice little slam that does lay Rhino low. Enough to stay this aggression of Lil Troops off on this side of that, but elsewhere it's Billy getting involved. Rhino looking to burrow rather, but we have Blasted active. Spirit Lasso gonna make it hard for Hydration to get involved. He's gonna follow up with a chain gang, though, and try and yank Lil Troops in his direction. He's happy enough likely to be able to walk away with this fight because it's a gun carry down. Poshi Pop has been felled elsewhere. The remnants of the Kudzu bomb here strewn on the ground as G-Freak trying to take a fight against Lord and them, who might be able to out-sustain him here. And I think G-Freak might have written a check. His ass couldn't cash. There it is. Low main trucks him with the baggage card. And this is falling apart for Lil Troops.
Oh, man. The trolley is just so funny. Just seeing that flying through the level. Okay, Hydra Nation, they're already starting to extend their lead now. 20k in advantage. And they are keeping the pressure on here on this right side lane. And at this point, it's kind of hard. The math doesn't work out quite as well when you can't quite 1v1 or 2v2. As equally as you would be able to earlier in the game. So it starts to get just ever so much harder. Yeah, he's
Fleetfoot is disgusting with that final stand. Like, it is such an innocuous item. It's just a tier 2. But bro, I mean, you have like Fleetfoot and Majestic Leap. You can go wherever you want. You basically have unfettered access to the entire map. You have global entry for the Cursed Apple.
All right, well, it's just going to keep getting worse, I think. Here, Mitch, the pressure's coming onto this right side walker. There's a fight going on the left side of the map. Lord of them is kind of outnumbered, but you know what? Doesn't matter too much. In fact, actually, Rokane could always... Oh, no, he can't TP. He's used the Traveler already. But they're going to pick up the on the right side, Hydra Nation. Despite losing Lord and M, they're still looking to gain advantages, maybe potentially against that walker.
Yeah. So they applying some walker pressure. They're obviously trying to tempt Lil Troops into a bit of a fight here. Mid boss is something we've not really talked about, right? It's actually not been really contested whatsoever. But now we might see Lil Troops trying to put more emphasis towards the middle of the map. They just they're a walker down. They've actually taken decent damage on their walkers right and mid side as well. It's hard to imagine they're looking for a fight here. I think Marta's just trying to clear some of these camps, get some of those boons if at all possible. But that's a binding word that Floz is not going to be able to escape from. And there is a soul exchange though. Low main takes the hit for the team, and Floz eventually is brought down.
All right, so Hydra Nation, they're going to get their walker push after all. They've completely cleared this out. Force Matt back on that holiday, trying to do what he can with the between the jump pads and the barrels, but he's going to get cracked by the death slam. Just send straight back, and there's no escape from that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, too much CC. Call Bell came on in there as well and would have made it impossible for you to really walk away from that engagement. So Walker being picked up, Ern still being kept, by the way, in possession of Hydra Nation. And they might trade a little bit of tempo on the left side of the map, but that's about it. Here's Poshi Pop, though, trying to build himself into that gun carry. I kind of like what he's working with here. Got us off the toxic bullets. There's also siphon bullets at the ready. Backstabber there in case anyone dares to turn around on him. So he's definitely looking like a legitimate threat with that headhunter also built into his kit. But is it in time? Rather, is it too late? I have to wonder. Poshi Pop there gives a good counter of himself. That Ern, though, is starting to make some moves. And yeah, Rokane has been struggling with some of the CC getting thrown at him, especially that sort of combo out of the Mo and Krill. So debuff reducer and now an ambush opportunity on Poshy Pop. He takes a pretty bloody big amount of damage himself though.
I like actually threatening this unturning because you want to force a fight because they're probably not going to try to come out and fight you otherwise. So here we go. The fight absolutely is going to be happening and it's going to be looking a very nice here for Hydra Nation as you'd expect. It's completely decimating their opponents. So some fights back here. Hydra Nation is in some trouble on Billy, but the reinforcements is coming on through. And this is a complete devastation. I just can't get bored of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, bro, nothing that you can really do about that. That's what we talked about, right? Like, Lil Troops have a really good front line, but they're getting picked off one by one. They lost their gun carry at the start of the fight. They're not hitting hard enough. Generally, like, it's going to be quite some time, if at all, that the Lady Geist becomes a legitimate damage threat in their own right. There's such great, crowd control ability, but there's the debuff removers are starting to get picked up on the side of Hydra Nation. They're starting to tech against this sort of crowd control heavy approach and cutting through what should be a pretty durable Lil Troops lineup. Here's an attempt at mid-boss now. Lil Troops will have all 6 players back on the cursed apple here in just a moment. You can see already the knockdown. I think that was on Poshy Pop, so nowhere to go. He can't even airdrop himself away. That's going to make it hard to really fight for this whatsoever. And it's a catch on the holiday. Combo here on AVG this time. Before he can make use of Last Stand, he's out of the fight. It's a big piece of the equation for Hydra Nation, but a hotel guest applied on Mo and Krill. But Rhino would already use that ultimate, so kind of done his job in this fight, securing the pick on the Warden. There's more to be said here, though. Warden MP is on N60s to Abrams there, looking like a bit of a snack here. G-Freak very low. Ro came with the damage to pick him off. It's only 3 left here for Lil Troops. And now, yeah, you've walked inside a Stormcloud. Lefa controlling this hallway and slowly being able to move out into the open. Should secure this fight well and truly. Poshy Pop gets chased into the storm. No one ever told him not to ride the lightning, apparently. And that is a mid-boss take and rejuve buff secure for Hydra Nation.
And that might just be it. What I love from Hydra Nation, especially going back to the fight that preceded this, was they had an urn which they picked up, and by taking that urn and it goes into the territory of Lil Troops. Lil Troops kind of have to take that fight because it's like the best fight that they might get, team fight, to turn around the game. And so for Hydra Nation, that works out because they actually want to force a team fight because they have a massive power spike on their entire team. They're so far ahead. So if they win that fight by forcing it, then they're in a great spot. If the other team lets them take the urn, well, they're still in a great spot and they've got massive map control. So they're just forcing these really hard macro decisions where Lil Troops are just going to have to take the fight, even though they're at huge disadvantages. And the mid boss was a very similar setup to that too. So I love this from Hydra Nation, and this is why they're so good.
And that's just an urn turn in behind all of this. So you have 3 redo buffs plus urn take. It's hard to come back from these. And Dan, I really feel like we're just hearing the echoes of that 3-for-0 Guardian exchange at the start of the game. Hydra Nation were playing with house money for the most part, right? Okay, nice little use of the Warp Stone, though, to guarantee the charge with that Phantom Strike available, but Stride will still be dragged down. He's just not hitting hard enough. Not enough souls on him here at all. And in comes the rest of the cavalry here. Stride flaws the first 2 to fall. Lord of them goes down, but job done, you'd have to assume. And the push comes to shove. It's going to be a Walker take here, the final Walker. And then a look towards the base Guardians that will open up some more of those infantry slots here for Hydra Nation. If not, put them in striking distance of closing out our first game of this best of 3.
Yeah, it's just assaulting the base now. They can get as much as they want. They should be able to probably get all the base Guardians if they really wanted to go for that. Don't have 7 with them at the moment, though.
I mean, it's so early in the game that they probably don't need the infantry slots. 22 minutes is not the end of the world. Also, something ZP's pointing out as well as he's watching the game alongside it, a lot of surge of power is being used here by Hydra Nation. In the case of Lomain here, his call bell is being empowered very heavily with extra charges 2 and 3. And yeah, basically just a real problem. He also has that knockdown. So it's yet another item sort of picked up to that effect. And we've seen it used to counter Poshy Pop's mobility. That's pretty problematic, I think, for the Ivy, who really needs to be, not the first to the fight, but wants to sort of sit on the fringes here and work that gun damage in. He's being scrutinized really early, I think, on every occasion.
Yeah, I think Surge of Power might be one of my favorite items. It's always like a nice power spike, depending on what hero you're playing. But I feel like it's like can be pretty good for almost anyone, especially if you got all these nukes that we see on this Hydra Nation side.
It's just sick as well because you just maintain full speed while you're attacking, which to me is just nuts. Like it's kind of crazy when you have that in the fight. It's kind of like the Fleetfoot buff as well. That really allows you to like cross fights, get into position while still having an impact, and still be throwing out all of these abilities. That's an escalating resilience. And that's how you know it's gotten pretty real for our 7-hour course. Bullet resist as he does bullet damage. That's exactly what Lef is trying to do. With the Boundless Spirit in his pocket, I think those storm clouds are going to be pretty backbreaking.
Yeah, and you can see, just looking at the real estate on the map right now for Lil Troops, they're kind of like just they have a little bit of control on the left side, but they're kind of constricted otherwise completely, just getting suffocated on the map, which really, really sucks. There's no two ways about it. And there's still a rejuve up actually here for Hydra Nation. So, you know, given that they've just cleared up the map, that, you know, they can purchase their items, get rid of their souls, then they can just like regroup and go for a fight at this point. And
I mean, you want to spend your unsecured souls here, like from just eating the neutral camps, right? Obviously, that's where your unsecured souls tend to come from, those kills in neutral camps. So cash them in now before there's any sort of risk of losing them. Gear up for a fight. And this is what you want to do. Like, just taking your own farm when you're ahead doesn't actually advance your game plan because there's an extra 25% souls for the team that is behind in overall soul total. So if you take your side camps and you let your opponents take their side camps, they're actually getting ahead of you. You're giving up the lead in order by maintaining that parity. So you have to go into their territory. You need to create that disparity by eating their camps, taking their sinners, and then knocking them out of the game. And with a 25-minute game, a 50k plus soul lead, Dan, I think Hydra Nation have done that just fine.
they certainly have, and looking to maybe get this like final fight to get into the base. See what they can get. Oh, okay, quick pull into Lord of them. He's going to get taken for a ride there off the lasso, but I don't know if that's going to go all that well for Lil Troops. They're just really expediting their own demise, it seems. And there's the storm cloud coming up on top. It's just licking everyone with that lightning damage, and that's full supremacy in your enemy's base.
I mean, it's very troll because it also hits the shrines, right? Like you just hits everything in that room. Very, very powerful. This will be a game ender here in a moment. Cute lasso. I think it interrupted Lord NM's Death Slam, and that's about it. I think that was why we got a lull in the chat from the man himself, because Hydra Nation are so far ahead here. It's an irrevocable disparity that Lil Troops have sort of walked into. Hard to fight in this position, but they're going to have a crack at it anyway. Base Guardians falling by the numbers. Hotel Guest being activated, though, and someone's been sent off to the Baroness. The baggage car doesn't quite connect there, but it's a nice little tornado to hold Rhino aloft to make him an easy target now. Doors for all. Is this going to be a binding word that holds Floz in pace, and one after another? There's Little Troops that are being brought to their knees. G-Freak now down. Doorman happy to put some pressure in as that patron will finally get the attention that it so sorely deserves. And we'll have a first map wrapped up here, Dan. Hydra Nation with a strong showing, getting wins with both Billy and Doorman in this first of our best of 3 games.
Yeah, that's the first win we've got with Billy, I think. And man, Doorman looks so fun. I haven't had a chance to actually play him in a match just yet. But wow, 1-0 from Hydra Nation with Billy and Doorman. Fancy that.
His potential only limited by your imagination. And I think characters like that are so iconic in games like this. Great showing here from Hydra Nation, of course. And it feels like we're at home. You know what? We're here on the night shift. It's number 3. Intel's back on the show. Hydra Nation still clapping cheeks, Jake. Everything is right in the world.
Staying on top, and I mean, the stars of the show take those first 3 cores in the opening draft picks. Hydra Nation not trying to hold any cards behind the back, just saying, all right, here we go. Here's our big 3. What are you going to do about it? And Little Troops aren't able to really stand toe to toe. And I mean, that's a game the Hydra Nation, they play clinically. They just advance the advantage step by step, you know, keeping that really solid level of gameplay that they'll need to take down when, you know, teams really come to challenge them. But honestly, this game was all Hydra Nation, man. This is a huge statement win, one that I don't know if Lil Troops are going to be able to come back from. Like, mentally, you're down 50k in that game. Like, that game is so over for so long. You're having to sweat through that. Obviously, new games and a clean slate, maybe a better draft, give you a little bit more of a balanced team comp. Maybe you have a better window into that next match, but mentally achieving that is different than just the strategic reality.
Can we give ourselves a grade for how we projected the game would go past the draft? Because if you remember, it was pretty like a bit of a standout draft from Lil Troops where they picked a lot of durability, a lot of individual lockdown. And we sort of said, okay, this is quite good, but Hydra Nation seemed like they had a lot more, just a lot more fire, a lot more damage. They had gun carries, they obviously had good spirit damage here, whereas we saw the gun Ivy picked up last. Like, did the game follow the trajectory that we felt it would, guys?
I felt like mostly, yeah. Like for me, I was hoping that Matt would be able to like create some pressure off of that early game, but that just didn't happen, and it just felt like super flat. After that, like Jake said, all control for Hydra Nation the whole way. Didn't really seem like there was any playmaking ability to follow up Matt at all, and I don't think Matt even got the opportunity to get aggressive, and that's, I think, always a really bad sign for them, that they couldn't take the initiative at all.
Yeah, and after this early game, which went pretty even, right? It felt like a lot of these team fights kind of got out of control, across the board. Lo Mein able to play his way out pretty well and showing like this nice hybrid build on the Doorman, pretty interesting. Leffa though on the 7. I mean, I feel like you give Leffa a hero where he can just hit a high farm efficiency, man, he is gonna produce, just like guarantee. And 7 pretty much best in the business when it comes to farm efficiency.
Oh man, it's crazy. Bro just walks up and he just eats booty through all those neutral creeps. Like it just doesn't take any amount of time really at all. And Hydra Nation creates so much pressure across the map, but we can't talk about this, right? Like, they took all 3 Guardians first. Like, it's not the sole lead that you get off the taking of those neutral objectives, Dan, that gets you ahead. It's just the disgusting amount of unfettered access you have to your opponent's neutral creeps in the jungle. And consequently, something we're focusing on today a lot, which I love, the Sinner Sacrifice steals, which were coming thick and fast. Lo Mein was getting in there and snatching up all of those extra souls.
Yeah, I think... Oh, go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just gonna say, I think Doorman's great at that, right? Like, you get in, you take a risk, and hey, if it goes bad, you just door yourself out of there. You slip away, or you could even maybe turn it into a real team fight. So Doorman, maybe that's one of the ways we could see this hero played a little bit more, is going for those center sack steals.
And I think it's really cool to see as well, just the macro from Hydra Nation, because I always felt like Lil Troops were in very difficult spots from a decision-making point of view. And that might be down to their comp a little bit, that maybe they didn't quite have enough to be split across the map the way that Hydra Nation were doing, when you had like an urn picked up and Hydra Nation have control in one space, and Lil Troops in those positions were never able to kind of say, okay, we'll give something up and then gain something equal or maybe an advantage in return. They were always losing.
Look at Leffa's proportion of farm and where the souls come from. That is a 3-0 Guardian advantage in the early game that basically blows out of control. That is...
Leffa's like, all right, you guys play...
28,000 souls, bro. Like, what is that? It's disgusting.
You guys play PvP. I'm gonna go play PvE in the jungle. And 7, I mean, that's really, I think, the best thing about 7 as a carry is your ability to clear the jungle early in the game faster than any other hero in the game. Max surge of power plus power surge on the same item, and just like a minimal cooldown reduction, and you are just out of control, perma farming everything. You can take tier 3 camps very, very early on that build compared to almost anyone else, and farm a lot more efficiently rather than almost anyone else in the game. And when you have an early game advantage, and 7 basically doesn't have to participate in the game anymore, just goes to farm, he pops out of the jungle later in the game like plus 10k, and it's kind of just all over the opponents. I personally have hard abused this exact strategy to get high rank. So it's nice to see Leffa still making it work here in a pro match.
Oh man, it was good to see Hydration involved in a lot of the fights. I don't think we really were on board so much with the Billy through like many of these fights, but it's a build that you probably would expect to see, right? Point Blank is just a really good item on him. Call to Sacrifice, of course, when you have that map control, you just like sweep through, snatch up those big cams, and just sort of go for it. Built for mobility, built for great chase potential. I feel like that's kind of what you want to see from Billy. Obviously, Spirit Resilience picked in there as well, so even when he gets low in those fights, he just gets really hard to beat. And Spirit Resilience against this comp from Lil Troops, where they've got just the gun Ivy, is very good. It's very hard to kill Hydration, so probably that's why he's involved in almost all of the engagements and ends up with 23 assists. And it's just a cheeky little dominance here from the Mirage late in the game, where O'Kane ends up with a huge amount of player damage. And again, it's not shock and awe, it's not flashy, right? But you start to build into siphon bullets, especially toxic bullets in these fights, and yeah, you just chill, you sit in the back line, click some heads, and collect the bag.
Yeah, definitely a big game for Hydra Nation, one where they can kind of flex, play some of the new heroes, show off some new stretch, but the old fundamentals are definitely there, and that's what delivers them to such a strong spot. Of course, just game 1 though, it is a best of 3 here in the money match, so there's still a chance for Lil Troops to regroup, but like we were talking about, like the mental fortitude aspect of it is where I feel like this really becomes a challenge, right? It's one thing to just come back and like, oh yeah, you can have a better draft this time, and one would hope that they do. I would love to see maybe a little bit more just conventional draft from them, like just getting a little bit more of those late game carries, being able to be willing to go to a longer game against Hydra Nation. I think if you try to just rush them down with some like super early game draft, it's just too one-dimensional. A team like Hydra Nation, they just read it and they pick it apart.
Oh no, they've taken away the holiday.
Yeah.
It sucks because Lil Troops, yeah, you got to. This is what I was saying before. It's like you can take the Yamato away, you can take anything away that you want, but they can still beat you with Doorman and Billy. Like they can pick into any number of comfort picks or really anything at all. So it's banning against Hydra Nation is probably just a nightmare. The deck always makes sense, but
you can't ban either of those two aforementioned heroes. Like you've got to like save up for like the boogeyman of the format, right? And obviously if your second pick, you have to ban Vindictor. You have to do that. Now obviously like this leaves Paradox in the rotation. Hydra Nation have shown they can also win without Paradox or Holiday, respectively, right? They actually don't need either of those heroes. And then we secure, most likely for Hydration, the Warden. Lock it in, build the nucleus of your team here around this very, very this terrifying and also powerfully scaling hero.
Warden just feels like it does it all for me. Like pretty strong laner, lane bully, late game, like very, very tanky, very strong in the team fights, has really sick catch, especially when you're in like a major late game team fight, when you have follow up and set up stuns for your trap. I mean, it gets kind of wild. But Lil Troops respond with the Yamato, which is maybe one of the few characters that can endure that Warden ulti, that can actually potentially challenge him and fight through. Although, in a long engagement, kind of like if the Warden gets that full duration ulti off, I'd still rather be the Warden. But maybe Lil Troops with the Yamato, they've already made some big changes in terms of their last draft, because they already, I think, have, just with the Yamato, more of a scary scaling late gamer than they really had in their draft naturally last game.
They're priced into these picks, by the way. I think like because they're first ban and have to take their Vindictor out, they need to eliminate Yamato from this first rotation, and they know that if they don't take Paradox here, it could get picked away from them or just banned out. So this is pretty reasonable. I think Hydra Nation can actually just, I hate to say this, but they can kind of ignore what Lil Troops are going to do in this draft. I think like so much of the pool is still available to them. They've shown they don't rely on Holiday or Paradox, these very prescribed ways to start fights and catch people out, because they're already in your jungle. They don't need to manufacture a way to like get a local player advantage. They have one fundamentally because of how they sort of come out of those lane phases. So 7 here to round things out. They're just taking care of that late game potential with both 7 and Mirage. They got Warden, who's, I would say, relevant in every phase of the game. That's not something that you can say about a lot of heroes in Deadlock right now. Spammy, has a self shield, has like hard CC and a powerful area of effect ultimate, and you build them with sort of omnipresence almost with that Majestic Leap.
And I feel like for Lil Troops side, they're sticking with their guns in a sense of like already this draft to me says, hey, like we want to get scrappy, we want to take early fights. But with Yamato, with Paradox, the Viscous, I feel a lot better about the scaling potential of that, right? Like these are early game brawlers and scrappers, but they kind of become late game burst threats, right? Where we've seen this Viscous build look really good. Yamato, of course, it's a huge late game power spike when you really just get that like massive amount of spirit damage pumping, and you are unstoppable, of course, in that ulti, being able to be really consistent, frontlining into even potentially some big threats. So I think this is a more measured approach, a more balanced one that has a little bit more of that late game scaling I was looking for. That being said, I think you're right, Mitch. I mean, like, there's something for Hydra Nation. They're like, look, we're just going to run this formula back and like force you to find some answer to it, because this core 3 these are going to be your main 3 farm cores on Hydra Nation. It looks pretty monstrous to try and team fight into them.
Especially, I think, like you said, when the 7 is able to farm because your team wins the early game so hard. Well, that's the problem. Like, and so I'm curious if Lil Troops can find the formula to that, because I think in the just looking at the last fight, Night Shifter that we had as well, it was the case that they couldn't win the early game. And I mean, obviously, like, we got to put the respect on Hydra Nation. It's hard to win an early game against them, but Lil Troops, if they can do that and create that pressure onto Lefa, like be disruptive, that would be really cool to see. But the Lash comes out too, and the Lash seemed pretty potent, especially without the Kelvin. I think it was a great call out.
The Doorman ban is, I didn't catch that initially. That is just insane. So what can Hydra Nation do now without, I guess, any of that sort of hard lockdown? I don't think they really care. They get Abrams instead this time around. So how important do you guys think it is that the Yamato for Lil Troops like wins that lane, or is able to like get a good start?
I mean, Yamato, I think, is not a particularly fast farmer in general, and so you are really great at using that farm, but getting the farm is a little bit less easy compared to somebody like Seven, who has like much more natural farming mechanics. So I think Lil Troops, once again, they're under pressure to have a really strong early game, but I feel like now that there's a more of a clear reward of like, okay, if you win some early trades, get some center sacrifices, if you can stack that up on your Yamato, you have somebody who can really take that momentum and run with it and actually turn it into maybe some objectives, maybe some bigger team fights down the road, and won't just be completely stifled. And the raid to follow it up is also another like, okay, we have some real serious late game threats that could catch and punish a lot of these Hydra Nation players if they're caught alone.
And just having the Sinclair so that you can steal the ults from like Warden and have that threat, maybe even a Storm Cloud or a Death Slam. Like these are some pretty decent ults to be able to pick up. It's not just one. So I'm liking this a lot more from Lil Troops. Oh yeah, there we go. We got the page. They had to do it.
Can't believe this is my life. Oh, imagine having to cast EU today and not NA. That's crazy.
By the way,
my short stat Miss Frizzle has finally made it onto the cursed apple, folks. Ogsham.
I just want to make one quick other thought about Doorman. I was just thinking, like, obviously it makes sense that Doorman is actually OP as hell, because if you're Valve and you're putting in a hero that is cool as him, as good a design as him, and has portals, of course you want that hero to be farming clips as soon as it hits the cursed apple. So I just wanted to
now,
make sense.
What do you guys think the function is of the Paige here? I think that like she's pretty annoying in lane. She shoves it really well with Conjure Dragon. She also, of course, like I think like the defend and fight shield that she gives out is kind of like pretty unique in the sense that she's able to give like a hard buff that gives bonus weapon damage whilst the barrier is active. So it's an ability that tempts your opponents into actually taking a fight to try and break the barrier so they don't just get blown out or just sort of run away in general. Seems like pretty oppressive to play against in general, even if she can't headshot and has slow projectile speed. That stuff still pierces, by the way.
Good zoner for sure. Like good at space control in these fights, and I think that's like one of the main takeaways I got from my very limited experience with her.
I think she has one of the best mid-boss contests in the game. Her ulti is insane with the knock-up and the stun, both incredibly valuable when it comes to grabbing rejuve last hits. I think a good call out on the shield. I expect her to be played largely as a support in this game. I think Mirage maybe going to be one of the better shield users since he's happy to take that barrier, and he's not necessarily somebody who's easy to like take the barrier off of, right? He can often be at that back mid range. It's not easy to put a little bit of damage on him, take that barrier off. And if that barrier is upgraded, I mean, hey, you maybe get the barrier on multiple. Maybe you're getting the barrier on Mirage, Warden, 7. That's pretty disgusting, right? When you're buffing
it increases
all of your
fire
carries.
rate. Right?
Yeah,
at that second level.
Exactly. I kind of expect to see maybe some points in the barrier, because I think if you play this hero as a support and you barrier buff on your cores, it's ridiculous. If you're getting significant DPS buffs on multiple cores at the same time, that to me sounds insane. And then you have a lot of setup. You can root people with your sword. You can ult and stun and catch people with that cavalry charge. So I think Paige, to me, on paper, looks like a pretty solid support. I really see the threat here, and imagine they're like lash ulting people. That's a perfect setup for the root or for the ultimate. So I'm surprised we only saw one Paige game today so far, honestly, or rather, like this is the first one, because in my eyes, I'm like, man, I see this character looking pretty good in competitive play.
She does not, though, offer pick potential, really. Outside, I guess if you land a captivating read, that's fine. But Hydra Nation obviously have, been able to build in like some form of hard initiation into a lot of their comps up until now. You don't so much have that unless you're like full maxed into your ultimate. And I think like the rallying charge can stun, but like that's not great. So obviously Lash and Abrams are the two heroes here that sort of guarantee you like some ability to dictate the terms of engagement, right? But outside of that, not a whole lot. Hydra Nation got an unbelievable brawl comp that scales disgustingly into the late game. But getting there and sort of getting that sort of prio can be hard unless they just stomp lane, take all the camps away and say, you have to come to us now. So we don't need initiation. Our initiation is our soul lead on you. So, just stick your leg out, look a little bit delectable and have them come to you.
All right, well, looks like we're getting ready to get into game here. Hydra Nation up 1-0 in our money match here in Night Shift number 3 North America, presented by Intel. Welcome back, of course, to the GOATs Intel, bringing us, of course, all of our Night Shift action. Lil Troops They may be down, but they're not out yet. This is going to be potentially their big chance to come back in, and we'll have to see if it's enough to shut down our many time champions here in Hydra Nation. Uber, GDK, you guys got this.
God, what is this? This is, I mean, my jealousy aside of Warden getting to ride the zipline with Paige, this lane is kind of filth, right? Spam from the Warden, giving the shield. Just Warden has his own barrier. Why is he get my Queen's barrier as well? Very, very powerful setup here. And you'll notice the projectile from Paige is, well, it's not really consistent. It is hard to hit a lot of the time. But again, we're skilling into that barrier first and foremost. So pretty scary prospect to take them on. And of course, fire rate for Paige matters. You got to spam more of those little word daggers. By the way, the word trails, Dan, they are lorem ipsum, like the whole thing, by the way. So very, very nice little
nice.
homage there.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, she doesn't necessarily need to do a lot of hitting on the enemy heroes. You know, she can get a lot of focus on those creeps as well to push the lane.
She needs to be hitting on me, Dan.
Oh, all right, I see the theme of I see the theme of this.
Get with the program,
Well,
brother.
It's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be really fun to see this. I'm sad we didn't get to see Drifter. I'm sad that Hydra Nation didn't have the cojones to pull out the Drifter, but you know, we'll make do with
They didn't
Paige.
pay Lord and M enough, apparently. He was going to do it, but like, you guys have got to go to these guys' streams and give them a bunch of subs, and they will dance to that tune for you. I promise.
That's true. That is true. Money talks. Look at the headshot booster.
Off the rip. Okay. Dude, okay. Someone in the chat saying that split shot Mercura Magnum is pretty amazing here with Paige. I can see it. I just didn't really think we'd be building into a gun capacity at any point. I don't know if Jake would have expected that either, but I'm here for it. Contra Dragon's been skilled into now as well, which is pretty filthy for pushing these waves out. And it's going to give you, I think, a lot of the time prior, especially when your lane partner is Warden. You have Alchemical Flask to shove with as well. This is so annoying for Lil Troops to play into.
Really interesting, I gotta say. I mean, she has high base damage, so anyways, and I guess like the hitbox as well is pretty big, so getting headshots, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not gonna try to theory craft that too heavily, but it's just fun to see Paige in the mix. So I think Lil Troops with their comp overall certainly have their best chance, I think, to have a good game here. I think, like Jake was saying, it scales well into the late game. They've got good answers to everything. You know, they got the Wraith in there. They got Yamato that can really be a menace early to mid to late. And Yamato paired up with the Paradox in mid against the Lash Mirage combo. So we'll have to see if Lil Troops can win a lane. That's going to be the first thing for me to see.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Paradox Yamato in mid, right? That might, I might be looking in that direction here. I mean, whoever's observing this at the moment, your obviously priorities are right, and I commend you for it. There's that extra charge, by the way, for taking into this Contra Dragon. So we actually, oh, nice captivating read, actually connects there. Floss goes pretty low here, chunked down. Very spam heavy lane here for Hydra Nation. Obviously, it's hard to see like a soul lead manifest as a result of that here, but you know, you want to think about that Guardian damage. And so, yeah, sometimes the dragon does weird stuff, Dan. It kind of passes itself if it runs into a wall. It doesn't always kind of go where you want it to, but in general, it works okay.
It's kind of funny that it's like looks awkward because it's kind of like, you know, just fits the style of the character as well. Kind of like bookish and awkward, maybe I could see just because it's like trying to connect these. The primary fire is pretty challenging.
Well,
again, the damage
like,
is pretty nice and the zoning is good.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird because she doesn't headshot, right? But she can still proc headshot booster, which is kind of weird. Not really sure how that like works. But that seems to be the consensus at the moment. Yeah, the dragon almost like goes in the direction of the nearest enemy hero. So all you have to do is like set its origin point somewhere close enough, and it more often than not will do kind of what you want it to. Really potent. Nice damage there as well. And again, I mean, Hydra Nation's laners have had to walk back into the Dragon's Descent AoE instead of just take some more free damage. And the pressure never really lets off. There's an Alpha Flask being followed up, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's an extra charge here picked up for AVG just to make it even more spam.
Yeah, and it does seem like the lane is consistently pushed as well, as much as Hydra Nation want it to be. And it doesn't really feel like Lil Troops that they can, with the guys or the Viscous get close. And so that's actually a statement in of itself. But we're back onto the mid lane here now. We've got a slight break from checking out Paige. And yeah, we get to miss her a bit, Mitch.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, absence makes the heart. Yeah,
maybe
we go.
not. You
We
got Pip,
pipped Paige. That's it. See? Always always close to us here. So that's obviously a buy up here happening for Hydration. Obviously left on your screen, absolute menace in the previous game. Really kind of terrifying. And Matt is down. Rokane's able to find something there, but Lord and M traded out. So that mid lane getting pretty volatile right now. And it is the Yamato of Stride that is still standing. But the rotations that come on in there, like that from Rokane, managed to travel her across the map to get involved. This is sort of provoked a walk across from the Sinclair of Rhino, but he's in no man's land. And Yamato eventually is going to be brought down. So that's, I talked about it earlier. That's the one lane you kind of want to win. There's a rallying charge, though, on the far left side of the map here. Google, they're going to knock Hydration up. It's all about that Guardian pressure, though. And that is there in spades. Eventually, Hydration having a double back as the Sinclair has made his way across the map here. And watch out, you don't have great escape here as the Paige. And G-Freak is going to cube up right in front of Hydration. And the jig is up for our book-toting support. She's out of the picture now, and that'll be some Guardian pressure, maybe even more being applied. But across the map then, it's a reciprocal motion from Hydra Nation. They've got the right side Guardian themselves.
Yeah, really, really important for them to be able to equalize, and they have that left side weak as well, so they're set up quite nicely at this point to start taking more and more control, create more inertia, and pushing things straight back as well here on this lane. Geist is going to get taken out. Floss is gone, and man, there's so much damage.
Bro, they weren't even fighting them. They were just throwing their one abilities at them. Oh, nice. That is a good puddle punch. This might actually secure a trade. Okay, AVG, nice tech with the heavy melee to get out of range, and now doubling back to their Walker, which started to suffer some of this minion pressure. Yeah, very spammy, and you can see the investment into Outclass, which is obviously the norm here for Warden. I mean, he's going to be hitting pretty hard. Well, Matt finds himself between a rock and some rippling biceps, as it's going to be the shoulder charge here from the Abrams. And once again, Stride is on the endangered species list, but is able to find a finish on Rokane. And should be able to back away, but there is a serious convergence towards mid here, Dan. Something's brewing.
Yeah, and I just want to give a warning. We're 50 seconds out from those Sinner sacrifices, so we'll keep a tab on that. But there is, oh my goodness, the book hits hard there from Abrams, forcing out the shadow form that comes on through here to try to stay alive in the midst of all of this. Able to fall back towards the Guardian, maybe, just
Big
maybe.
stun.
Oh, huge parry there. That is a beautiful reaction. Here's that sound of the heavy melee and able to get out.
Honestly, not too shabby at all there from Stride. Some really nice mechanics. Definitely the kind of player, I guess, you want to put in that Yamato seat. Meanwhile, speaking of carry individuals, Posse Pop is stacking up those bags of souls. This is not a bad look here for Lil Troops. Again, a very choppy early game. Something happening on the left side of the map here, right, is in mid. Low main is tucked here looking for a shoulder charge opportunity that frankly isn't going to come because there's a big drift in the leftward side of the map here. Guardian looking to be pressured. Obviously, instant parry when you get under it now, but I don't know if they're expecting this Paradox to be off to the side, but Matt gets hit by yet another shoulder charge. It looks like Low Main is trying to fight the Paradox down at every available opportunity. This should result in a Guardian in mid. Whilst Hydration joins the fray here and helps them, of course, shove this turret down.
All right. So, you know, on that page cam, why not?
Yep. I mean, you know, I think we need to assess how effectively she can clear these neutral camps. People are definitely looking out for that. Hydration. Again, I just want to point out a lot of those sort of support actives that were they were in vogue for a while, right? Your Kelvins used to pick up like Guardian Ward and Rescue Beam and all the rest stuff. And Paige obviously with Guardian Ward is pretty nice because that ability range increase is nice. You can stay at a safer distance while still having pretty good impact over the fight. But there are some of these spirit items being invested into, right? We're already looking to plump up our spirit offering by taking that improved spirit here. And very common, of course, to see that Enchanter's emblem being picked up as you benefit from being healthy and staying out of the fray, which is kind of what Paige wants.
Yeah, totally. I think, was it about 65%?
Yep,
Get that
exactly.
spirit boost. And
CDR, probably more importantly for Paige.
And, you know, Hydra Nation, much as we've expected them to be in a position like this in their games, they have map control, largely speaking. We've got some Sinner sacrifices being taken on their side of the map here as we follow AVG, picking up those. And that mid-fight right now, it looks like it could get set up. And there's definitely the initiation possibility coming through from Lil Troops, as they do have Paradox present as well. You got the Flying Strike available, as always, for Stride. So it's like no fight to be had. Hydra
Yeah,
Nation
AVG just took
are gonna-
his Majestic, by the way. So that's the mobility spike here for the Warden. A very quick
Nice.
buff pickup. Death Slam. Okay. Cancel that off. Lord and M not really liking what he sees there. Pressured down by G-Freak. Pretty fair soul-wise here. God, we haven't checked with Poshy Pop for a while, but yeah, he's starting to do the thing. Farm up those souls. Leffer, though, at 11k. So in terms of, our carry alerts, Leffer definitely setting off some alarms.
This right side Walker is in trouble right now. This is pretty threatening. And again, the urn gets picked up. We saw this last game for Lil Troops, but they don't have control of the lane they need for depositing. That is well under control right now by Hydra Nation. And right now, Lil Troops have to be careful not to waste too much of their own time threatening the urn tenant. We'll see what they decide to do here. Looks like they're going to have 4 players or 3 players. Now 5. I'm trying to like read the movement on the map.
Yeah.
How much are they going to commit to this?
Just got to point out as well, the monster rounds pick up here. Normally we see that much earlier in lane just to help you shove it, but it builds into that cult of sacrifice. So Hydra Nation already projecting that they are going to want to try and kill those neutrals very quickly, which means they want to be in Little Troops, neutral camps on that side of the map. So that's pretty optimistic from them. It's already implying they feel like they're going to have that level of map control. I don't want to argue with them at this point as they are ahead in Guardians. Now fighting over the urn, though. Captivating Reed doesn't quite connect. And it looks like Floss is being looked at pretty closely here. Big Death Slam, though. 3 comes in. That's a copied one. Audience participation connecting. And a Hex also thrown down towards the ground. Leffer, though, able to take stride down. They were stunned up there by that 7. And things are going from bad to worse for Little Troops. Storm Cloud is active and no one would dare pick out of their hidey holes right now. The urn still loose, by the way. Likely to be scooped up and turned in by Hydra Nation now, and already doing what they did in the previous game, starting to stretch that lead.
It's so tough because it really felt like Lil Troops had a much better approach to threatening that urn. And they even got that copied Death Slam too. So it's feeling like really good for them on the opening, but they just can't seem to win these early urn fights against Hydra Nation. Hydra Nation converting pretty heavily, and what they did have going for them was Poshy Pop pushing the left side. Poshy Pop is pretty farmed. He's the most farmed player on the server, except Letho, who's slightly ahead to be expected on that 7. So as long as Poshy Pop can keep pace, that's going to be good. But I feel like that's not realistic to keep pace against a 7, especially Letho 7.
Rokan was someone who really ran away with the game previously, Dan. This time, obviously, Mirage pretty susceptible to getting locked down, CC'd if he doesn't have the ability to get out with those tornadoes early. He still wants to be able to be that secondary farm carry. All right, there it is. Oh, love that there from Hydration. Looks like it was a Divine Barrier thrown down or a shield, unclear. Either way, Matt trying to slide on forward here. They're trying to chase Rokaine out of the game. He finds himself in a compromising spot, but Hydration snaps up Poshy Pop, and the arrival of Paige in that lane heralds, I guess, salvation for Rokaine and disaster for Lil Troops, who fall further and further behind now. This is a 14k soul deficit. Lomain clearly trying to evade pursuit himself.
Yeah, such a huge deficit at this time in the game. Hydra Nation have every single lane pushed right now. They got that Mirage doing Mirage things on the left side. Rokaine keeping that pressure on. That's going to force the second player to have to come by that left lane and try to force him back, but it's Mirage, so very likely going to be able to escape. Has some assistance too as well. Hydration and Leffer nearby.
Right, there's that Rabbit Hex that comes in. Death Slam, or rather, the Slam attempted here. Yep, here's the Death Slam. Audience participation ready here for Rhinos for a power slash off in the distance. And eyes are on stride here. Shadow Transformation is a given, but unfortunately, there wasn't enough room to breathe there for Stride. Brought down ultimately, Lord and M. The lash is often the exchange for these kind of kills, but you take them in many cases. Wall thrown up here. Hydration just sending daggers through it. And I'm not talking about the look on his face. He is pretty problematic in a lot of these fights. Poshy Pop going to be held aloft here. And that Spirit Damage starting to have an impact. Great coverage here, of course. That sort of Dragon's Descent doesn't really go where he wants it to. I think he hoped to head over to the right side. But still, speaking of drifting leftward, we have returning to this lane Rokaine, and very quickly the Wraith's going to get out. Poshy Pop has done his dash in terms of the free farm here. He's going to run into a 7 though. He's not out eating Leffer in terms of farm, so got to open with the telekinesis, try and take the fight anyway. Leffer, unfortunately, the drop just gets caught on him. He doesn't want to take this fight now, especially with the Viscous getting involved. But he avoids the puddle punch, Dan, and will be able to stay alive.
Yeah, I love the idea to try to ambush him, try to find him on those sinners, and forcing him out of the fight. He's not really in a spot to take a fight just yet. But Bushy Pop certainly is. Like, you can see those cards getting thrown all the way across. Bushy Pop fairly low, but still trying to keep that damage on. And forcing a slight repositioning here for Hydra Nation, as they just couldn't quite find a good fight there. So Lil Troops, they were doing a good job with the disruptive play, but unable to actually get a kill out of it, which is unfortunate.
But again, you'll notice here they're catching up in terms of that soul difference, because Hydra Nation aren't really able to do too much except just like somewhat passively farm, I guess, and they're getting these catches, right? This time it's Lord and M also being looked at really early. Death Slam here, catches on the Lord and M. That's audience participation put to its best use in this kind of matchup, and a soul earn into the hands of Lil Troops. Now, a couple more plays like that, and they're in good shape. Rhino, although not really a headliner for much of this game, has been pretty impactful with those copied Lash ultimates.
And that's an unturning that's on the territory of Lord Troops. So this is actually kind of perfect. Like you said, they're actually not too far behind right now. And so they must have been barely on the threshold for an earn on their territory. But in the meantime, we've got this pressure coming in onto the Walker. And that should, in theory, force a response here from Lord Troops. So they're going to just let this Walker go for free. Obviously, you've got the last stand in there, so it's probably hard to... There is a Majestic Elite coming on through as well. Just flying forward, taking any fight straight to Lil Troops if they try to defend this one. They're going to get themselves the earn, but they are still far behind now that they've lost that Walker.
Yeah, lost Matt as well. So this fight on the left side of the map could get out of hand. Now it looks like Lord and M is trying to hunt for a little bit more, and that cube is not going to be enough to save G-Freak. Most likely, some Wayward Gum damage would be able to bring the Viscous down. Lomain is not quite sure where his quarry is. And somehow, G-Freak has slipped the net. Impressive stuff. So a trade of Walker for Earn. If you're Hydra Nation, you're probably taking that trade because it extends your map control, and you'll notice that there is a Warden in 7 just like chowing their way down through the Lil Troops side of the map in terms of that jungle, and Hydra Nation doing the same on the left, even with the Walker present. So there's a soul deficit brewing here that can sort of blow out of control, especially with, Dan, a fair bit of early damage on that mid-side Walker as well. They're buying up, and so now we're going to see the manifestation of this sort of soul farming difference.
Yeah, Hydra Nation are just so good at just always being a bit ahead on this macro. However, Lil Troops keeping enough pace here to keep it competitive. It looked like things were getting away from them. I think it was like a 15k difference at one point much earlier, and good. It got that box route above the mid boss there. That's really nice.
I just saw a really nasty key item actually picked up for Hydration, Dan. He went and got himself a suppressor. So is reducing the fire rate of anybody that takes spirit damage from the page by 30%. I don't know if, outside of maybe Ivy with like Kudzu Bob spam, I don't know too many other sort of characters in this game that can cover such a wide area so consistently and apply that debuff. That is going to be really annoying to Lil Troops who have, you know, a lot of, gun damage reliance on their side.
Yeah, and it is pretty reminiscent of Ivy for sure. I totally agree. With that said, we got this, again, this pressure onto the left side Walker that has to force some kind of a defense. Oh, lost my feed, my game feed.
That's fine, we'll have that one back in a moment, folks.
We have to cast Blind Mage.
You know what?
What do you think?
I would just make, the problem is that everyone else can see the stream, we'll just make things up. Anyway, the fight brewed in the meantime, and it's over towards the left side, Walker. And honestly, not bad for Lil Troops. It looks like Stride was able to be an impact player in this engagement. Hydra Nation, though, still wanting to commit. And this is a game where 18 minutes into, right, there's been no look at mid-boss in the last 8 minutes since it spawned up. The death slam for Lord and M, probably to try and escape. Not really sure what the idea is here. It looks like turbo inting from Hydra Nation, but a Walker picked up for their troubles. It's a trade of Walkers and then a pretty hard loss in the fight. So definitely something that Lil Troops are going to be happy with.
Oh yeah, this is brilliant. I mean, this is a situation where they're actually not looking too bad. Still a Walker behind, of course, but a lot more map control out on the map. And at this point, you've got a 20-minute earn that's not too far away, and you've got a situation where if you don't have a good team fight, you could just give away a mid boss. And so given the fact that they're so close right now to Hydra Nation, maybe they're the team that has the better team fight. We'll just have to see how they set it up, because reliably, I have to point out that Hydra Nation are just winning these earn fights, and they're winning the macro when the earn is picked up. Like if the opponent picks it up, they still manage to just do a better job positioning and getting value on the map. So there's a lot to be asked for Lil Troops in this position that is could be decisive.
Toxic bullets just picked up though for Rokane. So those tankier targets now, I'm looking at the, you know, the Viscous, for example, they're going to melt a lot quicker. Obviously now being able to do max health damage and also healing reduction. That's not insignificant. Here is a paradoxical swap that Lord and M finds himself on the wrong end of. And isn't there going to be any backup here? Stride seems to emerge with a pretty free and easy kill. Stormcloud up on the high ground here was interrupted by a telekinesis by the looks of things and a copy death slam. I don't know, Dan. This is all looking pretty good for Little Troops. They're definitely getting the fight that they are looking for, but there's more to be done. And AVG still at least had a last stand, and he gets it. He puts it where it hurts. Matt taken down, and now the rest of the fight breaks down as Low Main dives deep. It's G-Freak being picked off, and Hydration free to spread influence across the map now. 3 grouped up here for Hydra Nation. Big damage on Floss and Rhino respectively, but Stride's going to come in from the backside here. He might have an assassination opportunity on towards the Paige. This is dangerous. Crimson Slash knocks Hydration down to about half, and I think he had to warp stone out of there. Unclear. Now looking for AVG, who's hit by a Hex and a trade out as Rhino is taken down. That's the Sinclair giving up his life for that elimination. And somehow Stride can't find the fight he's looking for. Rokane and Lef are backing up. Now they've drawn out the Shadow Transformation. It's only the Yamato alive here for Lil Troops, and he's going to work. Rokane down first. Lefa dodging, ducking, diving, weaving, trying to get away from this Yamato, but I don't think Stride's going to be denied. They are fed as heck, and Lord and M arrives far too late in the day.
This is Yamato at his finest. This is why you want that late game scaling of the Yamato to be able to just solo all of these players. When fights break down in this way and the Yamato stays up after that shadow form, it gets so hairy. And now the urn gets collected. It's going to be sent across the map there in favor of the Little Troops. Can they get the turn in is the question. And equally, you know, is there a world where we're going to be able to see them even actually get the rejuice later, like come off of a fight into a mid-boss? Because at least for Hydra Nation, they're not having to worry about a potential mid-boss altercation just yet. But they are actually trying to position up to defend the drop-off point for the urn. So there could be another team fight that has typically been favorable for them. But at this point, with Yamato getting so strong there in Stride's favor, it might be trickier.
Little Troops now have gotten themselves at least a tentative, a tenuous lead on this game. They're going to be walking into Warden 7 Wombo either way. And it's definitely something that they have to be highly watchful for. Might be another high ground fight taken here. We see the convergence, of course, on this right side of the map, whilst Lord and M just starts to push up mid. You can see the Lash is definitely losing that relevance a little bit here later into the game, and it's actually serving more as an ultimate bank for the Sinclair than anything else. Attempted an earn deposit here, not to be. Rhino definitely in dangerous territory. Map just gets blown up very quickly. This is dangerous. Little Troops might have given over the small lead they've been able to recruit here. That is exactly where you want the Storm Cloud to be. And the Dragon's Descent also making it harder for Little Troops to fight back with that suppressor debuff. Little Troops got rolled and smoked right there. Only at the cost of the Paige for Hydra Nation. That is a very good result.
Yeah, this is exactly the problem. Hydra Nation's positioning and just team play in these team fights is just so good. They had a really solid flank there as well, right before the team fight started, or as Little Troops were going to go in. I mean, if you're Little Troops and you're looking at this game, I think the urn fights, the urn team fights, and just the urn dynamics in general, it just seems like that for me has been where Hydra Nation have carved out the most advantage, or I should say have outplayed Little Troops maybe the hardest in the most decisive points of the game. And that's going to convert into this mid-boss. And Little Troops, you know, they're not super that far behind on the souls. So maybe there's a world where they can actually defend and maybe whittle down some of the rejuves. But they're going to give up a lot of map control, even still, if that's the case.
And again, the implied soul value of that rejuve buff take probably puts this to a 19 to 20 soul difference game. And the Boundless Spirit picked up for Lefa, Dan, represents a pretty massive power spike. No Storm Cloud at the ready just yet, but they are looking scary. Rapid Fire here, of course, has joined the arsenal of toxic bullets for Rokane. So they are definitely looking to be a bit of a threat. And of course, that debuff remover being picked up alongside opening shots. So Rokane is going to be a bit of a nuisance and is pretty durable with a battle vest as well as a fortitude to work with. And also really motors through these camps very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Chunky damage getting thrown out there reliably by Rokane. And Little Troops all rallying around the mid-walker, the last bastion of their defense, at least outside the main base.
They have no jungle creep. They've no jungle camps.
Oh, yeah.
It's so brutal.
Hydra Nation, they're doing their due diligence. They're cleaning up the map. They don't have to rush can take their time.
Yeah, credit to them, because this is something that they definitely understood about the game, is that they need to be more proactive once they have a lead. In some other games in the past, like in fact, when the way Rejuve worked in the past is that you actually would sit back after taking Rejuve to some degree, right? And you would have like passive push advantage across the map, and you would just set up somewhere and catch someone who's trying to defend. Now, with Rejuve not giving you like that global minion buff, but giving you a combat buff, and also the fact that, you know, the comeback mechanic in this game is an extra 25% souls, you have to be more proactive the further ahead that you are in order to close the game out. And it's teams that sort of sit back and get a little bit lackadaisical that can let leads like that slip, especially if they don't make use of this Rejuve buff in the window they've got it, Dan.
Yeah, and they're going to get this urn now. I don't know that Lil Troops can really contest it. Lil Troops do not want to get picked, and they do not really want to take a team fight that's not going to be as favorable as possible. So they're going to give this one up. They gave up both bridge buffs as well. They've given up their rejuves. So they have so much playing against them. And this is a 20k difference that's now been extended just since the mid boss was taken out. So Lil Troops, I mean, it sucks to be in that position, but they've got to try to kind of lose well in this particular position, and hope that they can get a good initiation when Hydra Nation push into them, because Hydra Nation will be coming shortly as they are buying up.
The Juggernaut there, by the way, for low main in the build. Followed up by a point blank. So looking pretty dangerous now with a bit of a power spike at close ranges. What is AVG looking for here? Unclear. There was a last stand pop for whatever reason, but we are going to have these now. And there's an opportunity for Hydra Nation here to step back and look in the direction of their neutral camps. I think they're feeling like they don't have a chance to take a fight with Rejuve here. Lil Troops aren't really giving it to them. So they say, okay, well, we will just go take our camps then and maintain a pretty like far forward foothold in your territory.
This is agonizing, isn't it?
I mean, it's as if there is the minion buff in the game still. Like, that's kind of how Little Troops are playing, because they're so concerned about fighting, which I get. But also they have Stride and Poshy Pop that are pretty fed. They are quite strong. We saw what Stride did to Hydra Nation when they had a Shadow Transformation late in the fight. They do not want to take this engagement just yet. Maybe they're hoping for a Paradox setup of their own, Dan. Well, there's a ground slam, and G-Freak was on the wrong end of it. Even more of a splatter made on the ground by the impact of the Viscous. And that's, again, a lot of the disruption potential for Little Troops now not really available to them in the next few moments, and there's still some Rejuve buff to milk.
Yeah, and you know, another thing that's worth mentioning is that when you're all grouped up, because you can't go out of the base and you're receiving all the creeps together, you get like way less soul value from the creeps.
Yeah.
So that also sucks.
Yeah, and here's the Sinners getting taken. Quick request from Diplomat Dota in the chat. Let's get a Paige build check-in. All right. That's a Paige build, just the build. We don't have to, you know, don't get too crazy with it. Warp zone here for Lord and M, so there we go. So, okay, really spirit focused. Tank Buster making its way into the mix there. Greater expansion is, it's very good. Very, obviously increasing range, but also effect radius. And you already have range increase from the Guardian Ward that you picked up. So, like, you can really control this space so effectively from great distances. Also, Mystic Slow there. It's just, you're just a CC machine with a superior duration also applied. This is nasty, man.
It is pretty disgusting. And again, like, I just don't know what Little Troops have in terms of options. This is kind of why it's so agonizing to me, is because like, I don't, like, they can't go and risk getting picked because the game's over. But if they do nothing, I mean, the best chances if Hydra Nation try to say, okay, we're going to win the game now, and Hydra Nation go and try to take a team fight, and there's some world where Little Troops get like a really good engage. But that's just not even been the case. So no. They're just like, oh, we're going to spend an extra 10 minutes completely farming up and absolutely guaranteeing that you all have 0% chance to win. How about that?
Yeah, you're right, Dan. I do think that, like, the way Little Troops are operating here, they're being careful and they're trying to look for a fight. And honestly, they might be trying to just chain a fight win into mid-boss. So they might be waiting until that's relevant objective in the next minute, because they don't just want to sort of win a fight and then walk into their side of the jungle, which is completely empty. They probably want to convert that into those walkers. And so, you know, they want to make it a hard fight to win, or at least put themselves on even footing. So the idea is to get a catch here on Hydra Nation around the mid-boss, maybe interfere with the mid-boss take, then at least feel like you're on more even footing when it comes to a pitched 6v6 around a walker objective later on. Maybe you can sort of fight there. I have to imagine that's what they're looking for, but we're about to have forces clashing on this right side of the map, I imagine.
Looks like Lil Troops have had enough, Mitch. They're going for it.
Enough of the game or enough of losing? Because honestly, I can't tell. Let's see. There, okay, nicely done. Yeah, telekinesis will interrupt the death slam there. Lord and M has struggled to feel relevant, I think, here because of that level of disruption. Stormcloud, though, it's just like the old days where you get zapped by being on top of the buildings, except this time you die a lot faster. That's right. Well, power slash interrupted by the lightning scroll. So by accident, basically stunned up because lightning scroll empowers that warden ultimate to have a stun component to it. So, I mean, AVG wasn't even trying to stun Stride there, but still got him. This game is probably over.
Yep, there's that mid boss you're talking about spawning up, and it's gonna be the fight continuing on the other side of the map there. So it's not really looking all that good here. That's your carry dead easy. So that's a bad sign, and well, the mid boss is getting killed just by left rim Rocane. So that's cool.
Yep,
it's literally running circles around it.
Yeah, I mean, he has. I do love the Mercurial Magnum. I love the Merc Magnum from the Mirage, just like popping in off the Traveler and just blasting people. Yes, give me more Paige Pip. Yeah, you take that patron down, girl. Slay. Give me that. No, keep giving me that energy. So you take mid boss simultaneously. You knock patron. Lil Troops, of course, because too much to your chagrin, Dan had to sit back a little bit of the last 10 minutes. They kind of set themselves up for one Hail Mary. That was it. That was the fight earlier on, and it goes horribly. I guess they're fighting on the rooftops. They've been fighting on the rooftops primarily in this game, it feels. I don't know if it's because they're concerned about like Paige's AoE and the impact it has on them, or for some other reason, but that's where all the engagements have been.
Indeed. Not sure what's going on there.
Food for thought.
But
Yeah. Maybe chatters have thoughts about that one.
staring pensively instead of... Yeah, really interesting. It actually feels like Lil Troops. Like, I have some thoughts about it, but hang on. Let's just see whether there is... Well, let's see how much time we have left in this game, because it's nearly like 10 seconds left.
Yeah. Say your prayers, Dan. Yeah. Any last words? Shout out to the fans as Stride, the one that Lil Troops were pinning much of their hope on, is already down. Posty Pop had fallen earlier on, so in terms of target priority, this has been very, very good by Hydra Nation. Taking out the key carries and then going to... Whoa, that was a disgusting rally in charge. Just spam those abilities. By the way, those abilities are back off cooldown because Hydra Nation is 3 charges off his 1. And there you have it, folks. It ends up being a 70k soul lead at the end of the game. And Hydra Nation, thanks to our friends at Intel, will be claiming all of our prize money. Another championship under their belt here. In night shift number 3, Hydra Nation still the GOATs of NA.
No doubt.
Stay on top for one more week. No surprises. I mean, Hydra Nation head and shoulders above the competition right now, and I think they've only refined their play. Like, they've looked even more and more solid, playing this like really consistent, stable style with like a really well-practiced draft that they clearly prefer, with, you know, some changes here and there, throw it in the page. But it feels like, you know, with that opening to the draft being so solid, they have a ton of flexibility as far as where they want to go from there. They have no problem in terms of the player department being able to comfortably bring those heroes out, and they have no problem strategically adjusting, adapting to whatever the draft throws at them.
Yeah, and it's really cool actually to see, even though it kind of looks, I suppose, more dull, to see Hydra Nation just being like, okay, we're 10k ahead and we won this mid-boss fight. Okay, let's get now just spend the next 5-10 minutes getting 70k ahead. And what I was thinking when I was watching that was, one, it's good that they're showing us the discipline to do that, because it really shows that they're taking it super seriously, that they don't want to give away a single edge, and they're trying to refine how they play their advantages. But what it also showed me is that if you're against most teams, they're going to give you something by maybe taking a fight too prematurely. But Hydra Nation showing, yeah, you just don't have to do that, and you can guarantee that you'll win the game. So it puts Lil Troops in this position where they have to try to figure out, I don't know if it's like how you can best figure this out, but you got to try to find the guy that's farming one of your camps that has teammates that are a bit far away. You've got to like try to get out into the map and try to find something. You can't just be in perpetual fear that it's a trap, because then, you know, you're going to be guaranteed to lose. That's basically what they were showing with that gameplay at the end.
Yeah, it feels, I mean, honestly, like they were fighting quite well, but it was really impressive to watch like a Yamato just like go absolutely ham, right? I think like Matta's getting caught out a whole lot. I don't think that Lil Troops are kind of having fights play out in the way that would like. And let's not forget, like Hydra Nation's comp doesn't feature like a hard lockdown, hard initiate sort of opener. And Lord M was trying. Like I don't think that the Hydra Nation composition was actually, compared to Lil Troops, any better, because Lord M is constantly getting stunned out of that Death Slam, or it's been copied, or you know what I mean? Like Lil Troops have like basically they're pick of the litter when it comes to sort of starting these fights off, whether it's between the Sinclair or even like telekinesis from Parsley Pop or that paradoxical swap. So despite that, Hydra Nation do what they do in general. It's like brawl out in that early to mid game, get that map control, and the fight invariably comes to them.
And I think they're great about choosing where those fights take place, right? Like, you know, getting those earn controls, or like you said, even if they're not the team to get the earn pickup, if they're not the one to set the tempo that way, they're going to pressure you somewhere else and put you to a tough decision as far as where do you want to defend? Where do you want to put your priorities? You might get the earn dunk, but you might give up so much somewhere else on the map that you're in real trouble. And I mean, consistently, this tricore of AVG, Rokane, and Lefa are just getting monster farm, super relevant, all three of them, to where there's not one obvious hard carry that you can dump all your skills and focus on. There's three, and it makes it much more challenging to play these fights. Even if you lose one of your carries first, the worst case scenario in theory, in reality, the other two can come in and back it up, and they can double down on what looks like a really difficult team fight.
Once again, neutral camps being slurped up by Lefa and AVG respectively, right? The two designated carries here on this side of the map. I think AVG had a pretty phenomenal game. The fact that Bro is picking up Lightning Scroll, yeah, I mean, he is very much like living his endgame fantasy at that point in the game. Very, very scary stuff. I think a great showcase of what Warden is capable of. Lefa also farmed 50k souls, by the way. That's absurd, but I do think like a huge portion of those are picked up in the last 10 minutes of the game, where the whole map is sort of left to Hydra Nation. You can see from the 25-minute through 32-minute, right? In fact, the increase in soul difference is quite precipitous there after that sort of second rejuve pickup that isn't contested. If you remember, Little Troops try and wait it out, but by then the game is well and truly out of their hands. So Hydra Nation, it's a slow, choking game style that nets them the win here. Really solid, considering that last week was a little bit rockier for them. They're back.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see, because again, you know, even though Hydra Nation are far ahead of everybody, they set the example, and that actually ultimately lifts the scene up. So long as they can maintain stability as a roster, which it looks like they're kind of in that era right now. That's the feeling that I get. That's going to ultimately be great for the scene. And so I'm excited to see, also because we're getting some more consistency from, you know, lineups for like Lil Troops and PKP. So, and especially again, I think, you know, with the new patch coming out and the more attention on the game, and as we heard earlier, Hoot say on the EU, it's like there are loads of good players in EU that are also not right now thinking about making teams. And so I'm hoping that we're going to get, you know, an abundance of great teams coming into play for both regions.
This is base Jake.
Speaking of great players, you know, in this region, Rokane, I think, has been a stalwart on these like cores, playing Mirage today, looking great on this hero, like really putting on a ton of map pressure, just being that very consistent player, keeping very, very low deaths, high kill participation, and crucially big farm. You look at some of these timings on the items, they're getting that toxic pre 20 minutes, pretty impactful burst fire. A lot of those like early game fighting items pretty quick. I mean, especially debuff remover fortitude. In the first 15, he shows that he really wants to play this hero aggressively, take risks, take fights. You could build this hero a lot greedier, but he's playing a little bit more to get active on some of those earlier timings.
Now, I want to point out that, like, yeah, okay, it feels like he's like 4-3 and 17 in the second game. Guy is 11-2 in our first game. Like, don't forget that. He is pretty filthy, and he's part of like this lane assignment that's being moved around the map to sort of bully a little bit. Like, I think they start in mid. It's like Mirage and Doorman, I think, he and Lone Main sort of playing alongside each other. But Rokane was, yeah, pretty fantastic here. The build is the same roughly between the two games, but he comes up with like 32k player damage in total, and he's even able to build like that boundless spirit towards the end of the game just to make those those Jin marks even more powerful. Just a great pick. Really, I think, important to the overall game plan of this Hydra Nation team. Like, his macro senses are excellent. He's coming into these fights with the ultimate and the Mercurial Magnum, and basically just, you know, tipping the scales there. It's exactly what you want to see from your Mirage player.
Yeah,
well done.
Anything else to that?
Well done by Rokane. Congrats to Hydra Nation for taking another victory here in Night Shift, in our third Night Shift now. sponsored by Intel. Shout out to Intel, of course, for helping us put this event on. Of course, we could take a look back now at the day so far, at where we've come to get here to the end of our show. So we wrap things up for you guys at the end of the night shift. But remember, even after the end of this night shift, even after we close out the broadcast here, we're going to go straight on to our graveyard shift for you Patreon supporters. I mean, the community is a huge element of us being able to run this event, right? Deadlock is a very new game. We're not really at the scale of like a major esport yet. But I think the reason, I mean, especially for me, and I think for a lot of us here as casters, wanting to put this event on, wanting to make this happen from across the board, even down to production, observers, everybody, is the passion about this game, is the community, the excitement. And, for the fans, people have supported us a ton so far, and we want to give something back to that. So for our Patreon supporters, we are going to be running this graveyard shift post-stream event here. We're able to talk to some of our pro players, learn a little bit more about the game. And as you said before, Mitch, we're already a pretty chill, relaxed show, but we're going to go even more chill. We're going to open the mic even to the fans, to the Patreon supporters when we get into that. Let them ask their questions.
Yeah. Obviously, real quickly, something I want to talk about is that if you're wanting to emulate any of these builds that you've seen through these matches, and you don't want to like go through the replay code, or you don't want to like go through the VOD, which is crazy because we sound amazing, we have builds from the pros. If you search Deadlock Night Shift in the game, you will get builds like this one. This is Low Main's build from tonight, right? This is the Doorman build that features like a lot of that catch potential. Is it Echo Shard in the build as well? Okay, bro. Call Bell for life. Again, so you can check it out there. We are going to be adding item builds all week long from Deadlock Night Shift. So if you do want to replicate what the players are doing, you can do it there. Also, we are posting builds in our Patreon Discord as well. That Low Man build has gone up there. I think we had Dimov's Viscous build as well from last week. So we're throwing a few of them up there as well. Remember, you can join $5 Patrons, have access to the Discord as well. And of course, like Jake mentioned, our Graveyard Shift episodes. So trying to offer a bunch of extra value here, trying to give back to you guys as well, who have supported us and, for the last couple of weeks supported our players by crowdfunding, which I just think is really awesome. I think it's something as a community should be proud of. But Big Daddy Intel's come in now, helping us get these guys paid. You can keep getting us paid with your support on Patreon. Much love and thank you in advance. We got John Jake after the break for our graveyard shift. I have no idea how that's going to go, honestly. You know what? Let's get weird.
It seems like a cool character. I'm curious to hear about, his rise onto the scene as one of those, one of the early players who there was an early wave of top pros that kind of dominated for a while. And John was one of those fresh names to break in on the scene. And I think we talked about this even with Hoot in the EU interview of like, there's a lot of really good players on the ranked ladder who maybe just aren't playing in competitive yet. And maybe just need that little push to get their feet in the water and to start to compete. So hope we see more of that. We see more talented players come up out of the rank pool and compete. Of course, here in Deadlock. And although we're coming to the end of our show here on Wednesday in Deadlock for the night shift, we actually are going to be running an epic 3-weekend CS extravaganza brought to you by Intel and Asus. It's our Project Night Shift.
Yo, is that Mind Freak? Is that the Mind Freak logo there, dude?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
My boys.
Here we go.
I helped form that team. That's crazy.
You what?
Yeah, I was one of the founding members of Mind Freak back in like 09.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
No way.
Oh
This esports floor, I even did though.
Yeah. It was a COD 4 team initially. We went from there. So big shout out to Michael Carmody, who now is the owner or runs it. But yeah, love me some my Mind Freak boys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we're going to be doing 3 weekends of regional Counter-Strike. It's going to be a very similar format to the night shift, but we'll have we will have 4 invited teams. Obviously, we don't have the winner stays on element, but we have the 4 invited teams. So they're going to battle it out. They are fairly close on the VRS seeding, if you know what that is, if you are from the Counter-Strike world. And we will be having a lot of fun. James Bardolph and I will be casting. We haven't casted together for like 4 or 5 years or something crazy like that. But it's definitely the kind of vibe that we liked and that we did a lot of shows, on that kind of very bantery, very loose, fun having a kind of tempo. And that's what this show is all about. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to check that out, we'll be live on a Saturday, so don't miss it.
Absolutely. And, of course, we give our final shout out, of course, to Intel for sponsoring. Intel wants us to let you guys know about Gamer Days, which is on right now. If you purchase some components, you're going to be able to get with the qualifying Intel products, you'll be able to get Battlefield 6, which, of course, is definitely a hot game to hop in with your friends, get some classic action. I feel like Battlefield is one of those genres that just never disappoints. Always a blast to hop in and just blow stuff to hell, man. Just knock down a building while you're at it.
Dude, I mean, it's games lit, honestly. But more importantly as well, not only is like Intel Gamer Days like the offer of the Battlefield 6, but also there's a ton of discounts on a bunch of Intel powered desktops and laptops. And yeah, some of those qualifying purchases get you Battlefield 6. But it's also a great time if you are in the market for a new laptop or want to upgrade your desktop. You should definitely check it out until September 7th. Big shout out to Intel. Going over and checking out the website, even if you don't feel like buying anything at this stage, just click in the link, head over there. Would help us immensely, guys. So game.intel.com for more info. That's until September 7th.
And that brings us to the end of our main show here. This has been Deadlock Night Shift number 3. We're really happy to be able to bring you this show week in, week out. Shout out to our lovely Patreons, wonderful people who've come together to support us, all the community, the fans watching, the co-streamers who've been with us week after week after week. It's great to be back. It's a very exciting time in Deadlock. And of course, we'll be back with more Deadlock action coming right at you next week. But for now, we're going to head on over to the Graveyard Shift. So join us in the Discord if you're a Patreon, if you're at that level. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to be chatting with John and getting his take on the state of the game, talking about his history. You can ask your own questions. We're going to open the mic, of course, to the fans as well. But that is all for us. So we'll just leave it at that.